is considered an outdoor ceremony, and all headgear is to be worn by all military personnel. We also ask that you please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices at this time. Thank you.
Ready, run, cover. Ready, rest.
Good evening, and welcome to historic Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall, originally established as Fort Whipple in 1863 and changed to Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall in 2009. Its main purpose was fortification in the defense of Washington. Since its inception, Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall has been the home of horse cavalry, artillery, and infantry. Today, it is home to the Old Guard, the United States Army Band, and the United States Army Garrison. Before today's review begins, the United States Army Band, Pershing Zone, presents a pre-ceremonial concert featuring the following musical selection: El Capitan and His Honor.
instruments. Design.
Once again, good evening and welcome. Today, the United States Army Military District of Washington, represented by the soldiers of the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, and the United States Army Band, Pershing Zone, pay a special tribute to Lieutenant General Laura A. Potter, Director of the Army Staff, who is retiring after 36 years of distinguished service to the United States Army and our nation. Participating in today's review, from left to right, is the United States Army Band, Pershing Zone. Formed in 1922 by then Army Chief of Staff General John J. Pershing, the United States Army Band is the premier band of our senior service. Pershing Zone provides musical support for ceremonies and special events in our nation's capital and throughout the United States. The United States Army Band is under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Randy Bartell and led by Drum Major Matthew Carmichael. Elements of the Old Guard include Honor Guard Company, commanded by Captain Taylor Massa, and led by First Sergeant Shane Grinder. Next on line is Hard Rock Company, commanded by Captain Russell Palmer and led by First Sergeant Ryan Mathis. Next on line is Hatchet Company, commanded by Captain Bill Cusick and led by First Sergeant Mitchell Martinez. Following is the Commander-in-Chief's Guard, patterned after the unit created by General George Washington in 1776 to be his personal guard. The Commander-in-Chief's Guard is commanded by Captain Jack Chen and led by First Sergeant Weston Blakely. The last element on line, dressed in the Continental Musician's uniform, is the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. During the American Revolution, musicians wore the reverse colors of their parent infantry unit. The men and women of the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps maintained this tradition by wearing red coats instead of the infantry blue. The Corps is led today by Drum Major Barrett Newman. Ladies and gentlemen, moving into position is the commander of troops for today's ceremony, Colonel Thomas Kilbride, Commander, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. Since the days of the American Revolution, the colors have been one of the most important elements of a military unit. Therefore, taking the center of our formation in just a moment and bearing the national color is the nation's foremost color team, the 3rd Infantry's Continental Color Guard, led by Staff Sergeant Trevor Kemp. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the advancing of the colors.
Advance the colors.
Please be seated.
Step. Left. Place. Coat, ready, cut. Coat, dress center, dress. Officer, dress center, dress. Coat, ready, run. Officer, ready, draw.
The history of the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment reflects the growth and development of our nation. 55 well-earned battle streamers, 2 Valorous Unit Awards, 3 Meritorious Unit Commendations, and 5 Superior Unit Awards attest to the Old Guard's record of bravery in action and achievements during peacetime. In 1922, the War Department granted permission for the Old Guard to pass in review with bayonets fixed. The Old Guard will now fix bayonets to the traditional beat of the drum.
Sound, fix, bayonet.
Ladies and gentlemen, taking the reviewing stand is the reviewing official for today's ceremony, Lieutenant General Laura Potter, Director of the Army Staff. Accompanied by the host, General Randy George, 41st Chief of Staff of the Army. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as honors are rendered and remain standing for the invocation delivered by the Chief of Chaplains, Chaplain Major General William Green Jr., United States Chief of Chaplains.
Coast, ready, cut!
Hook, ready, ready, rust. Hook, ready, rust.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chaplain Major General William Green, Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, please bow with me as I ask God's blessings upon this ceremony. Almighty God, we offer our thanksgiving to you today as we gather with gratitude to honor Lieutenant General Laura A. Potter, our 58th Director of the Army Staff, and her family, and to thank them for their faithful service and sacrifices made for our Army and our nation. You have given this committed and compassionate leader the wonderful gift of family, loved ones, long life friends, subordinates, battle buddies, and leaders who stood by her side in times of challenge and celebrated with her in times of triumph. Heavenly Father, as you have walked with this Army family throughout their remarkable service to our great nation, we humbly pray that you will continue to lead and guide them in the next phase of their journey. And now we ask your richest blessings upon General Potter, her husband Randy, and their sons Jack and Robbie. May your peace and favor rest upon them today and always. And Lord, continue to guide our Army. Keep us faithful, keep us strong, and keep liberty's light shining brightly across this land and around the world. In your holy name we pray. This will defend. Amen.
Please be seated.
Sound up.
Colors, ready, cut!
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the advancing of the colors and remain standing for the United States National Anthem.
Colors, forward, march!
Sir, persons be honored and colors are present.
Shoulder, fire, locks, and 1, and 2, and 3. Present! Arch! Detachment, present! Arch!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. General George is now moving into position to honor the retiree and spouse. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, July 9th, 1918, has awarded the Distinguished Service Medal to Lieutenant General Laura A. Potter, United States Army, for exceptionally meritorious service to the government in duties of great responsibility over a 36-year career, culminating as the 58th Director of the Army Staff. Lieutenant General Potter's unparalleled professionalism, true selfless service, and ability to ensure support for the Secretary of the Army's vision and goals positively shaped current and future Army initiatives. Lieutenant General service is in keeping with the highest military traditions and reflects distinct credit upon her, the United States Army, and the Department of Defense. Signed, the Honorable Daniel P. Driscoll, the Secretary of the Army. Headquarters, Departments of the Army Special Orders. By order of the Secretary of the Army, the following general officer is retired. Lieutenant General Laura A. Potter. General George is now presenting the United States flag to Lieutenant General Potter for her faithful service to her country. The Distinguished Public Service Medal is awarded to Mr. Randall E. Potter for exceptional contributions while serving Army soldiers, civilians, and their families from January 2007 through October 2025. Mr. Potter has been a trusted mentor, effective leader, and a devoted spouse whose selfless dedication has improved the quality of life across numerous military communities. Mr. Potter's distinctive accomplishments across 18 years of distinguished volunteer service are a great credit to him and the Department of the Army. Signed, the Honorable Daniel P. Driscoll, the Secretary of the Army. On the occasion of retirement of this distinguished soldier, we also recognize the outstanding service of Mr. Randall E. Potter, who is presented with the Department of the Army's Certificate of Appreciation for his faithful and devoted service. It is dedicated support which made possible such a lasting contribution to our nation. Signed, General Randy A. George, Chief of Staff of the Army. Lieutenant General Potter has made donations to the Fisher House Foundations in lieu of special presents to members of her family. We are proud to recognize Lieutenant General Potter and Mr. Potter's devotion to our country, and we wish them happiness and prosperity in their well-earned retirement. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the posting of the colors.
Post the colors. Step. Right. Face.
Please be seated.
Step. Left. Face.
Ladies and gentlemen, General George.
Lots of water up here. Maybe it can be a long one. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Great to see everyone. I want to start off, like I always do, kind of recognizing some of our great folks in our formation. So I would imagine that there's some folks in here that have served in the Intel community. So if you're Intel in any way, please stand up so we can recognize you all. All right. I want to know who's watching what's going on in the world. Most of them are in here. I would also, I'm sure we got some folks in here from the DAS's team. So if you are in here from the DAS's team, the one that keeps us straight, moving around, anybody in here from the DAS's team? All right, I figured there'd be somebody in here. Okay, General Shinseki, Secretary Driscoll, Secretary Warmoth, Undersecretary Fitzgerald. I was told Undersecretary Camarillo is here. I think we've got former Acting Secretary John Whitley, if he's out there. Hey, John. He's getting ready to start his second shift here in a few minutes when this is over, up with DepSecDef. Vice, SMA, friends, and there's a bunch of them here. Friends and people that have served with one of the greatest officers I've had the pleasure to serve with, and that's Laura Potter. It's great to be here to celebrate Laura's career, but also to celebrate the rest of Team Potter who's helped Laura succeed over this past 36 years. And so I'm going to start with her husband, Randy. Laura and Randy met at Fort Huachuca. In 1989, Laura was a brand new lieutenant at Officer Basic Course, and Randy, a captain at the career course. Yes, I'm going to tell this story. I figured statute of limitations, you guys will be okay. I'm telling it all that's happened. The two happened to be in processing at finance at the same time. Laura went to the vending machine to get a Diet Coke. She pushed the button, and Randy gallantly handed her the beverage. What a gentleman. It was love at first sight and proof that hanging out at finance isn't all that bad. The schoolhouse had a rule that basic course students couldn't date advanced course students. So the two linked up for a mentorship dinner 30 miles from the base. And I can only assume Randy's advice was absolute gold. The two were married 4 years later, and they just celebrated their 32nd wedding anniversary last week. As he was a couple years ahead of Laura, Randy coached Laura through some key milestones: running her first range, giving her first Article 15, preparing outboard briefs, et cetera, et cetera. Their leaders didn't necessarily know it, but by hiring Laura, they also got Randy. And by hiring Randy, they also got Laura, both excellent officers. It was a twofer. Randy retired after 22 years, and he donned a new role, Coach Potter. In Belgium, he took the DoD high school football team from an 0-6 record to an undefeated season and the All-Europe Championship. He also coached wrestling, soccer, basketball, and t-ball, and was a substitute teacher. His reputation was known far and wide. In 2012, Laura attended a relief-in-place ceremony in RC West in Afghanistan for an Albanian company. She found herself unexpectedly popular at the reception. And upon seeing her name tape, Spanish, Italian, and Albanian officers realized that she was the Coach Potter's wife. After moving to Arlington, Randy assessed that the community didn't need coaches, so he poured himself into the Fort Myer Retiree Council and became a powerful and positive community presence. He is friends with everyone on base. families, guards, caisson detachment, flower shop, and his friendship made sweeter by his incredible strawberry rhubarb pies. In my wife Patty's words, Randy has been the pie-making, welcome wagon, advice-giving dog whisperer of Fort Myer. He is kind, generous, and humble, and the neighborhood won't be the same without him. Randy, thanks for being a terrific partner to Laura, and thanks for all that you've done for our Army through the years. We're going to miss having you in the neighborhood. A big round of applause for Randy Potter. Also here, in case anybody didn't notice, are Laura and Randy's sons, who delivered an amazing national anthem earlier. First, Jack. Stand up, Jack, so everybody can see you over there. Who came up from Florida to be here today. Jack is a nationally ranked classical vocalist and an accomplished actor and dancer. In show business parlance, that's called a triple threat. He's now a freshman at the University of Miami, where he majors in music therapy and psychology. And while Jack is a clear musical talent, I can say that from the parties he throws at the house, in the neighborhood, and the crowd of kids who love to hang around, his real gift is being an exceptional friend in person. And we've also got Robbie here. Stand up, Robbie. We've already signed Robbie up for the Army. I just want that to go down for the record. A sixth grader and another singer and actor, he also loves martial arts, basketball, swimming, chess, and anime. He's a young man of many blossoming talents and a genuinely good heart. Jack and Robbie, I look forward to seeing what you both accomplish with such great role models in your life. I can only expect that you will go on to do great things, and no doubt in the Army at some point. Laura's mother, Judy, is also here. Judy had a long career in the DoD school system as a teacher, while Judy's father served in the Navy as a Seabee. Unfortunately, Laura's dad is no longer with us, but Judy, I know that you both instilled in Laura discipline, empathy, and perseverance, all of which molded her into the great leader she is today. And Judy, I know that you were especially instrumental in encouraging Laura to continue to serve at various junctures. So thank you for that influence and for raising and supporting such an outstanding daughter. Thank you. I also want to welcome Laura's two brothers, Ted, the oldest, who works in finance in Charleston, South Carolina. Ted, I know you never served in uniform, but that you were a dedicated supporter of all of our soldiers. So thank you. And Jim, West Point class of 1985, for excellence we strive, who in Laura's words, made her join the Army. Apparently, Laura went to Dickinson College to be a high school language teacher. Jim convinced her that she would be a much better teacher if she got some practical experience in the Army first. So Laura agreed. 5 years and I'm out was, I think, what she said many, many years ago. And here we are, a very familiar story. Jim did a career in the Army as an armor officer and then strategic intelligence. He now works on intel for the Department of the Navy. Jim's wife, Debbie, a nurse, is also here. Thank you all for joining us. Some other folks I'd like to recognize: Randy's brother, Dr. Robert Potter, and his wife, Dr. Cindy Potter, and Randy's sisters, Laura and her husband, Dr. Doug McMillan, and Polly with her husband, Steve. So I think we got the doctor angle covered here if anybody needs it. Laura's Dickinson College roommates are also here, the Dreyer Basement Posse. The picture up here. Laura is in the sunglasses there, and they shared some great stories about your college days, Laura. Living and studying together in Carlisle, and tales of Laura's escapades studying abroad in Spain and the USSR. And we'll make sure they get some open mic time at the reception here a little bit later. But I want to thank you all for supporting Laura through the years. And Laura, I'd like to pass a message from the Dreher Basement Posse. And they said, "We are also incredibly proud of Laura for her service to our country and the sacrifices she has made to keep our military and civilian populations informed, safe, and secure. She's had an incredible career, but we are eager for her to be off duty as she has some Dreher basement roommate fun to catch up on." And I wanted to remind you, Laura, that you're still on active duty for a couple of weeks, so whatever you're thinking about doing here. So now Laura, a career intelligence officer, she's served in impactful assignments all around the world. As just a captain, Laura served as a UN observer in the Republic of Georgia. She was fluent in Russian, so she led a multinational team of higher-ranking officers enforcing UN mandates in a restricted weapon zone, investigating war crimes, responding to medical crisis, and reporting back to UN headquarters in New York. Later, she held prestigious command assignments, including the 743rd Military Intelligence Battalion in Colorado, Joint Interagency Task Force 435 in Afghanistan, and the 650th Military Intelligence Group in Belgium. As a general officer, she served as a EUCOM J2 after the first Russian invasion into Ukraine, keeping tabs on that conflict and other incredibly complex issues like the Turkey coup in 2016 and the Armenia-Azerbaijan flare-up. She was also commanding general and commandant of the USARMY Intelligence Center of Excellence, where she and Randy met so many years ago. Following Huachuca, Laura served as our Army G2, responsible for manning, training, and equipping the Army's military intelligence force. And of course, she's served as the director of the Army staff since January of 2024. And I'm sure that's felt like a couple of dog years since she started that job. As you know, Laura, I like to sum up people with three things. So here's my attempt. First, you are an inspirational leader, and I'm going to share a quick story. Jim Eisenhower said he attended a meeting with you some years ago. Afterwards, his aide, who had been sitting in the back, began asking him questions about your career and experience. He asked the young captain, "Why so many questions about General Potter?" To which the young officer responded, "I want to lead like her." Dr. Craig Cummings, a former colleague, echoed the same sentiment. He said that when he thinks of his time serving with you, he's reminded of a quote by Maya Angelou. And the quote is, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Laura, you've got the right stuff, and you are a caring leader. And as a result, you've influenced literally generations of leaders. Second, you are an expert at Army Intel. Melissa Peacock of the Dreher crew said of you, "Laura does not need to be the loudest in the room or talk the most. She works hard and pays close attention to details. She can sift through the data to identify what is important and translate complex concepts into words that everyday people like me can understand." Even in 1989, you had all the makings of an exceptional intelligence officer. Since then, you've only grown more competent and capable. From Kathy Galvey in the G357, she said, "Laura is one of the most competent officers with whom I've served in more than 39 years of commissioned and civilian service. Few work as hard as she does to know their profession. I maintain that she runs circles around so many others and has for a very long time. And she has class, a trait that is far from universal." Finally, Laura, you are a straight talker and a genuinely good person. From General Charlie Flynn, Laura was always about getting the operational commanders what they needed. She was my intel right arm when we were the G2 and G357 team together, and my left arm when she was DAS and I was CG at the USARPAC. Forever a professional and straight up honest, her candor and advice was always welcomed. Laura, your leadership will be missed in the ranks, but it is your friendship that I and so many others cherish the most. I can say that I have felt the same having you on the team as the Army G2 and then as the DAS. You serve the mission, you fight for our soldiers, and you fight for the Army team. Laura, I know you are looking forward to what's next, and we're happy for you. Thanks for being a phenomenal teammate. Thanks for your willingness to work 16 to 18-hour days as our DAS. Thanks for saying out loud what everyone was often thinking and then moving out and getting the job done once a decision was made. And thanks for consistently showing us all what selfless service is like in practice. The entire Army team wishes Team Potter the best of luck on everything that comes next. I am confident that you have a lot of new adventures ahead and that you will continue to brighten every community that you join. Stay in touch. This will defend.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Potter.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for sharing this day with my family on beautiful, historic Fort Myer amidst the outstanding men and women of the Old Guard who represent our Army's amazing 250 years of history. I have woken up every day since the fall of 2020, honored to call this place my home. Even today, when a squad of fire trucks and the Department of Public Works showed up at my doorstep as we were trying to get ready. Chaplain, thank you for that touching blessing. You always find the right words, and more importantly, you always know when the DAS needs a visit from the chaplain. Chief, thank you for hosting this ceremony, for your incredibly kind and mostly true remarks, and for the trust and confidence that you've placed in me as the DAS, and for your friendship. Randy and I will miss being your and Patty's neighbors. While being neighbors is great, I may not miss the evening and weekend meetings, but I must say your passion and commitment to driving change in the Army is unparalleled. Our formations are genuinely excited about the change you are driving, and Patty's vision for changing Army programs to the betterment of Army family life is truly inspiring. I want to begin by thanking the secretaries and undersecretaries, confirmed and acting, whom I have worked directly for. If you watched the slideshow before the walk-on, you may have noticed an odd picture of me walking up the stairs with my backpack slung over a shoulder to the eyes of Secretary Pete Guerin. Secretary Guerin was the first secretary that I worked for, and I had the privilege to be his XO back in 2008 to 2009, during a year when we changed administrations. And I learned more in 1 year from him than most pack into an entire career. Secretaries Ryan McCarthy, John Whitley, Christine Wormuth, and Dan Driscoll, and Undersecretaries Nelson Ford, James McPherson, Christopher Lohman, Gabe Camarillo, and Dave Fitzgerald. I thank all of you tremendously. Each one of you has brought an extraordinary commitment to our Army during your tenures. And despite the differences that ebb and flow from administration to administration, all of you have been passionate about ensuring that we have a trained and ready Army, able to fight and win the nation's wars when called upon. You have taught me incredibly valuable lessons about the formulation and implementation of policy, how to affect change in the Department of Defense and the Army, our critically important relationships with Congress, the media, and the American public. all of which must be continuously cultivated and maintained to safeguard our institution and our relationship with the fabric of society. To General and Mrs. Shinseki, I know of no retired general officer and spouse more committed to our Army than both of you. Randy and I thank you so much for your friendship and for joining us today. I'd also like to thank professional and member staffers that are here today, some of whom I served alongside in uniform. To you and the members and the committees you represent, thank you for your steadfast support of the Army and for the wise counsel you have always given me, even when we saw things from different perspectives. I have benefited tremendously throughout my career from mentors who have become friends. And while they are too numerous to list here, I would be remiss if I didn't mention a few of them. And if you should be on this list and I forgot, I'm terribly sorry. I will make it up to you, I promise. Lifelong mentor, Lieutenant General retired David Friedovich, who, no kidding, was part of every consequential professional and personal decision, include, dare I say, Jack's timing, that we made between 1991 and 2012. I'd also like to thank Major General retired Barbara Fast, who I worked for in Baghdad in 2003 and 2004, and not only mentors me, and surely will continue to do so in retirement and scold me when I do not respond quickly to texts, but she has become truly part of our family. Beyond those two, Generals Flynn, Rainey, Pappas, Brito, Cody, Townsend, Garrett, and Donahue, and Lieutenant Generals Barrett, Martin, Daniels, Gervais, Sims, Peterson, Hodges, Matlock, Lundy, Bradenkamp, and Hale. And as I said, I'm sure I've missed a bunch. You have all been truly amazing leaders and friends, and I'll forever be grateful for the guidance, mentorship, and friendship that you have given to me and my family. To the Vice. It is unprecedented that a Vice and a DAS have come into position on the same day, but that is exactly what General Mingus and I did on the 4th of January, 2024, after the confirmation holds were lifted. And not a day has gone by, barring one of our TDYs or leave, that he and I have not spent time together, on some days measured in hours, and on most end-of-day closeouts measured in 2 to 3 DAS minutes. And 1 DAS minute equals 12 minutes in time. And the office always kept count. I have benefited so much, General Mingus, from your wise counsel and your friendship, but beyond that, everyone in this room and everyone watching from afar should know and appreciate that our Army is blessed with the most talented Vice across the Joint Force, and the impacts he has had on the Army will reap benefits for decades to come. SMA Weimer, thank you for your leadership and your friendship. You represent the finest of our NCO Corps, the backbone of the Army. I've been blessed throughout my career to have phenomenal NCOs by my side, from my first platoon sergeant, Sergeant First Class Bailey, to battalion command sergeants Major Romanello and Claire, who are here today, to CSMs Robinson, Guerra, and Melendez, and countless nominative command sergeants major that I serve with every day. You are what sets our Army apart from any other force in the world. It is an unfathomable honor for me to end my career as the director of the Army staff. And some of you may think that Pentagon life is all about meetings, and I do go to a lot of meetings. But actually, every day in the Pentagon runs the spectrum of military operations. From peacekeeping, 2 parts of the Army don't get along, and I'm implementing a ceasefire and a peace agreement. To stability operations, they are now getting along, but they require sustained and close supervision. To offensive and defensive operations, 1 part of the Army is beating up on another, and the beaten up part is asking for reinforcements. And occasionally, close combat, which nobody agrees with anybody, and the knives are out. But even in close combat, the camaraderie I've enjoyed working with countless assistant secretaries, general officers, senior executives, the likes of Miss Randon, Miss Blanks, or Dr. Schoen, and countless others, sergeants major, and all the countless military and civilian professionals that work for them. That camaraderie is irreplaceable. It's the difference between success and failure of our Army at home and in the theaters across the globe that we support. I can't thank you all enough for your commitment in the midst of the most consequential transformation our Army has seen in decades. I have watched you embrace Socrates' words. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And I know as I depart, that's exactly what you will all do. To the Office of the DAS, our outstanding world-class protocol team, who is always the face of the Army, and our 5 directorates, an alphabet soup that you wouldn't understand even if I spelled them out, ASPD, PMD, EBOD, ESG, and ECC. There, I said I would do it. Thank you all. Not many people see or understand the true scope and scale of what you all do. In 1,000 seen and unseen ways, you are the ones that take Army senior leader intent and turn it into reality. To the VDAS, Laura Jankovic, you're an inspiring leader, from staffing the most consequential decisions in the DoD to finding resources for our direct reporting units to sitting by the side of a grieving spouse. The Army's lucky to have your talent hard at work every day, many evenings, and most weekends. And thanks for being a fellow Steelers fan, because it makes her evaluation all that much easier to write. To my immediate office, that I affectionately call the pit crew, you and your predecessors have been an incredible team. It's been humbling to watch all of you put the needs of the DAS and our Army senior leaders and countless others in the building ahead of yours each and every day. Thank you so much. General Evans, you've got the best front office in the building right here. To all of the current and former soldiers and civilians who have been part of my journey and whose names I've not mentioned today, you are too numerous to name, but please know how indebted I am for your friendship. You know you are here for a reason, and you know that you're very special to me, Randy, and the family. My road to the Army was a bit rocky. I was a reluctant cadet, and as the chief said, my brother did make me join the Army. I actually had a teacher scholarship, so I didn't need the ROTC money, but he convinced me that service was my calling, at least for a few years. So I was at Dickinson's Blue Mountain Battalion, and I had a group of awesome roommates from the class of '89, as the chief mentioned, Tori, Jen, Melissa, Melly, Leanne, and Jackie, who had absolutely no interest in joining, and in fact, some of them thought I was crazy, but they made every effort to support and encourage me, and they've done so to this day. Calls, texts, visits, birthday wishes, an occasional vacay, and college reunions, the most unique of which was our 25th reunion, which they allowed me to join via Skype from Afghanistan. We are also joined today by my favorite Dickinson grad, fellow Blue Mountain alum, CASA Emeritus, and Colonel retired who worked for Alexander Haig, Woody Goldberg, and his wife, Susan. They've done more for Dickinson and the U.S. Army than anyone realizes, and thank you so much for being here. And while I'm on CASAs, I also want to recognize CASA Emeritus Dr. Rory Cooper, fellow Pittsburgher, and if you don't know Rory, he's done tremendous things for not only wounded warriors, but disabled people all over the world with his innovative human engineering research lab. And now to family. Randy and I were so fortunate to be raised by phenomenal parents in loving households. Dr. Bob Potter, a dedicated family doctor and sports doctor, and Janet, an educator, took me in as their daughter from day one. I'm so fortunate they raised such a man of character and kindness. They attended ceremonies, helped us with moves, and were a summer family vacation spot for our boys. And Janet loved to debate national security issues with an intel officer. I swear I never divulged any classified information, but sometimes I did feel like I was absolutely in the hot seat on Meet the Press or 60 Minutes. People who knew my parents and me always said I'm an equal blend of both. Dad gave me fairness, discipline, I used to polish his white Navy shoes, and an appreciation for the consequences of a bad temper. He was a yeller, I am not. My mom gave me a commitment to lifelong learning and a strong sense of sympathy and empathy for those around me. My parents equally embraced Randy as a son. They attended every promotion and change of command together, from commissioning to taking battalion command. My dad would often counsel me on leadership, and he would end his advice with, "But what do I know? I'm just an 06. And I was always a subordinate when he said that. So my dad passed away just shy of my promotion to 06. My mom alone has attended every ceremony since, and her tears have been in equal measure, tears of joy for me and my family, and tears of sadness at the moments my father has missed. But I can tell you, Mom, Dad has been with me every step of the way. I'm truly blessed to have an extended family of loving, generous, and selfless siblings and siblings-in-law who've provided unwavering support to me, Randy, and the boys all these years. They all serve the nation in their own way: service, philanthropy, and volunteerism. My brother Ted, a salesman and trader in the financial industry, and his wife Teresa. Ted is friends with everyone he's ever met, and no soldier in his midst goes without. My brother Jim, as the chief said, West Point class of '85, and he tried to get me to go there and swim following in his footsteps, and I wouldn't do it. And his wife Debbie, a phenomenal nurse, mom to 5 homeschooled children, and a dedicated daughter-in-law to my mom. Thank you all for everything you've done and continue to do for me. My brothers and sisters-in-law, the Potters, Dr. Rob and Dr. Cindy, both highly recognized in their fields of medicine and physical therapy. Randy's sister, Polly, a retired teacher of 30-plus years and the best there is. And her husband, Steve Farringer, a prominent salesman in the financial industry. And Randy's sister, Laurie, a businesswoman in the hospital industry, and her husband, Doug, the family dentist. All 5 of these couples are successful in their own right, but more importantly, they raised phenomenal children. I have 17 nieces and nephews, all on a path to success, including doctors, nurses, PhDs, teachers, and business professionals, etc. You can see a generational trend, so no pressure, Jack and Robbie. Beyond my siblings' own greatness, they're descendants of greatness. Private Hugo Potter, whose World War I dog tags and his My Fellow Soldiers letter from General Pershing are prized possessions of ours. Private Don Farringer, who bravely served in the Korean War. And Don McMillan, a B-24 navigator who was shot down in World War II and spent over a year as a POW. Both Randy's and my father served in the Navy. My dad, a Navy Seabee, was an ensign and assigned to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba in the mid-1950s, and my mom was a Dodd School teacher, and they were on the last flight out after Castro told the Americans to leave in 1959. To the extended family, the Gavleys, the Franks, the Manns, the Fasts, the Wheelers, the Welshes, the Lees, and Amy Johnston, words cannot express how much you all have meant to the Potters, but your support has made every success possible and lightened our burden in so many ways. Thank you all. Most importantly, I must thank my immediate family, whose unwavering love and support have been and remain my foundation. Jack and Robbie, you're growing up to be such awesome young men, and Daddy and I are so proud of you. You're strong, kind, patient, funny, and I know you two will take the world by storm. Jack is pursuing a music therapy degree at the University of Miami and is already involved in supporting our veterans. And Robbie will be the master of whatever he chooses. Randy, you're an amazing friend, father, and partner. I'm so proud of your coaching accomplishments, your commitments to Dodd schools in Europe, your leadership in the Fort Myer Retiree Council, and your love of every soldier on this base, from the oldest retiree to the old guard and the band to the caissons who adopted our dog Finn as a mascot to the MPs at the gates. And nobody moves onto this base without a strawberry rhubarb pie and a welcome basket. Thank you, Randy, for packing my lunch almost every day since 2006 and for reminding me to smile at work, because I tend not to do that, and to throw my helmet when I'm mad, which, by the way, I don't do that either. I love you, honey. Thank you for everything. In lieu of gifts to my family, my mother, and my siblings, I have made donations to charities important to them: the CB Foundation, the Fisher House, the Honduras Hope Mission, Pennies from Heaven, Wounded Warrior, and the University of North Carolina's Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center. I would be lying if I said I was completely excited for this moment. I've been a soldier for over 36 years, almost my entire adult life. As a career intelligence officer, I've held Army intel positions and served with all of our 3-letter agencies, analyzing the end of the Cold War, the implosion of the Balkans, Russia's early intervention in its near abroad, the rise of a global terrorism network, the weaponization of the information space, which I truly believe to be the single greatest threat to our national security. The return to great power competition, the bloodiest land war in Europe since World War II, and both the promise and the peril that the high-tech future portends. And as an intel officer, it has always dawned on me that none of those challenges I've articulated ever seem to completely go away, and what we're witnessing is the cumulative effect of all of them. And while it has been intellectually stimulating, and I quite often know much more than I'd like to about our adversaries, it's been a constant reminder that it is our most solemn obligation to do everything in our power to man, train, and equip the most powerful fighting force in the world. And that commitment must drive our priorities, our decisions, and our resources. I've been blessed with so many incredible experiences, too many to count. I've led soldiers in peace and war, from platoon to commanding general of the Intel Center, and served on staffs from division to combatant command in NATO, defending our nation's interests on 3 continents. I remember being so certain in college that the Army wasn't for me until it was. I recall being assigned to Korea after asking to literally go anywhere I could use my Spanish or Russian. So thanks, HRC, for that. But only to be consumed in that assignment by the strategic implications of that peninsula. And quite frankly, being colder than I'd ever been in my entire life. So I picked for my next assignment the sunny spot of Fort Drum, New York. I remember very long, to follow Randy, by the way, I remember very long, hard days in Iraq and Afghanistan, and not a day goes by that I do not think about those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and the families they left behind. I remember investigating war crimes in Georgia in the 90s and helping organize our response to 2 Russian invasions of Ukraine over the past decade. I remember commanding at Fort Huachuca and watching drill sergeants mold young men and women into soldiers, and promotions and retirements of so many great officers and soldiers throughout my career that I was honored to be a part of. These 36 years have been both an eternity and a blink of an eye. I've heard many a speech where the honoree looks back and says, you know, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. I cannot say that. If I could start again, I would change a lot. And I don't say that out of regret, and I don't say that out of envy. Quite the opposite. I say it out of excitement for the journey the Army has been on that has resulted in vastly increased opportunities for women that were not open to me in the mid-90s, made possible by generations of trailblazers who proved time and again just how capable the American fighting woman is. As I stand up here for the last time in uniform, I'm honored to have been an American soldier and to become a soldier for life. I'm reminded that what has mattered most is the people we have met along the way, in and out of uniform. I will continue to take it as a solemn duty and responsibility to live our values and honor the oath that underpins our profession. There is no more important obligation, and I charge all of you serving today to make safeguarding our profession your highest calling. Thank you all so much for being here with me and my family. God bless you, and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Army Song. The United States Army is honored to have presented today's special ceremony. Please remain in place until the departure of the official party. You are welcomed to join Lieutenant General Potter and her family for a receiving line taking place on the floor to your front. Thank you for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day. This will defend.